Hey, Christian Metal Group. We got me and Jay and Jeremy here. We're going to do an awesome interview with Jeremy about Rock for Him radio station and podcast. We'll find out about what Jeremy does and how he promotes the Christian metal and Christian rock bands and artists. So I'm Jimmy, longtime metalhead. Uh, I love everything from, I don't know, let's see, Striper to DC Talk. I like it all.
Oh no, no.
Mortification to POD. Yeah,
Mhm.
man, I'm all over the place. And Jay,
Yeah, honestly, I am too. I'm Jay, aka Joel, aka whatever. And yes, I'm a
jazz soul
musician
metal.
slash right jazz soul metal, all the J stuff, and we got all J's here, so that's kind of
Hey,
cool too.
and I love that because that really describes you, man. You know eclectic.
Yeah, very jazz soul metal, exactly. Yeah, and it's so I play music, but I also am a long time metalhead and listening to metal. My first Christian metal album, I'll just say that was actually it was like three at the same time. I got Scrolls, I got Believers Dimensions, I got Living Sacrifices Non-Existent. Um
Nice.
and
Nice.
Vengeance Rising's Released Upon the Earth, like all at the same time. And yeah, so but I think I
Man.
discovered Christian metal via Petra. They
Yeah,
not metal, but
man. I just got to say this because my introduction to Living Sacrifice, as far as I remember, was a VHS tape at the youth group, and it had the video for Reject on it. So that
Oh
album, that
wow.
song, and I just never forgot that, man. It's that because I mean, when you're listening to Audio Adrenaline and you see that, you're like, all right, now
Dang.
that's more my speed now, you know?
Right.
Yeah. That's so funny. Look, this is about to turn into living sacrifice conversations. This is so funny.
That's
I was
okay.
at Cornerstone,
Man.
Yeah,
probably like 2000. It might have been like Cornerstone 2000 or something like that. And I like kind of dismissed the Reborn album, but I remember I was standing on a chair. I was recording their set,
oh,
and Reject came on, and yeah, I lasted like maybe 10 seconds on that chair.
Jeremy, did you ever get to see them live?
I did. I think it was like in 2008. I got to see them with Demon Hunter
Oh wow, that's a
during
cool
the Storm the
tour.
Gates to Hell tour. Yeah,
Hmm.
Yeah. So
fantastic. Like they are the OGs of Christian thrash metal, and
Yep.
I have seen Alice Cooper and Iron Maiden. I mean, lots of bands, Megadeth, whatever, and they're great. But still, one of my all-time favorite shows was Living Sacrifice. It was the Hammer and Process tour
Oh
with
God,
Project
yeah.
86 and Stavesacre. Like three of my
Mhm.
favorite bands. And I remember I had to go outside at some point because you could not breathe in that room. It was so hot. Man, that was a
that,
great show.
that Hammering Process tour with the five of them, with Matt
Dude,
playing percussion.
Matt, what was his name? Matt,
Matt Putman, his brothers in Norma Jean, of course.
the so when he started it was pitch dark and he had like the flash paper and he lit it on fire. That's how he started, and then he came in with that drum intro.
Yeah.
Amazing. It was
yep.
amazing.
Uh,
So
I can't imagine.
so so Jeremy, give us a quick introduction. Tell us a little bit about, who are you? What do you do?
All right, my name is Jeremy Brown. I am one of four members of Rock for Him. We are a Christian heavy metal radio show, podcast, and we are also starting concert promotions based out of Flint, Michigan.
Nice.
Uh, I've been a Christian pretty much all my life. Uh, I want to say it's Demon Hunter that got me into Christian metal. I don't know. I've been listening so long, I couldn't remember. It was definitely DC Talk that got me into Christian rock, and
Mhm.
from there I just kind of expanded my horizons.
Wait, I thought they were rappers.
Right,
At least
um,
one of them.
right. Um, but for years, my area has not had a station that will play the hard edge Christian stuff. So it's kind of always been on my heart to start a station. Well, then almost 2 years ago now, two and a half, something like that. Anyways, I hooked up with two other guys who had a podcast, who knew about podcasting, and was like, "Hey, we can start a podcast together." Blah blah blah. And then we actually started with the radio station. One of the guys, Jason, who does our editing and all that, he had a connection to a radio station through a family member. So we started out with a 1 hour daily program. I take Tuesdays and Thursdays, and Scott takes Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and Jason takes the weekends. So Jason will do on Sundays we have a wake up and worship 1 hour show where we play a lot more heavier worship style music. Saturdays is our top 15 countdown. And then during the week, it's just Scott and I trading days. As far as the ministry goes, I am the one who books the podcast guests. I try to handle a lot of the social media, and I respond to emails. I think we all kind of pitch in that thing, in that way. But I'd say over the last 2 years, we've really gotten great response for what we do.
So are all of you based in Michigan?
Jason and I are. Scott was in Michigan, but he moved to South Carolina recently.
Nice.
So he kind of splits his time between Michigan and South Carolina. So.
Oh, wow.
Yep. And then let me see. Last year, we started concert promoting. Our first show was I don't know if you guys have heard of Reclaim the Day.
Yes.
We brought them up to Michigan here, 4th of July weekend. The show was a disaster. We promoted as much as we could, but 5 people showed up.
Well, hey, but that's a learning process, though.
It is.
You can't expect it all to be perfect. That's awesome, man. So you're kind of creating a scene there in your area where you don't really have it.
We are.
Well, back up. I know that's a brief introduction. I appreciate that. But tell us a little bit about your faith journey. You said you've been a Christian most of your life and all. Kind of, what does that look like?
Well, let me see. So I grew up. Both of my parents went to church, kind of off and on. It wasn't until I was about 12 or 13, I would say, when I finally realized, what salvation meant, and became, accepted God. Then kind of still trailed around for a few years. Still really didn't know because it wasn't in a really solid church. And then I grew up Southern Baptist, which in Michigan is kind of weird, but and then I found out years later that a lot of what Southern Baptists believe isn't totally biblical. Mm-hmm. So I've kind of drifted in and out of various denominations. I was part of a Nazarene church for a few years. I think I spent a greater part of a decade in the Word of Faith, non-denominational, faith healing, all that stuff, which is definitely not biblical. And I know now, but I was kind of naive at the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been there too. I mean, you don't know what you don't know when you're in it too.
Right. And now, I'd say for the last 5-6 years since I met my wife, we've been in a very solid, almost Reformed Baptist church. We've made that our home base. And that's where I actually met Scott. Although I've known Scott for a few years without really knowing who he was. We used to go to the same concerts together, and didn't know it. Like, we would see each other, but we didn't, that kind of thing. So then he was at the same church we were, and then we just connected and started from there. But yeah, it's been a long process of actually really knowing who Christ is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, especially when you're shifting denominations and you're not sure what this one truly believes, or biblically what is what, and just hearing all that stuff. But I can say now that my faith is a lot stronger than it's ever been.
That's awesome. And Jay, you speak to he's talking about a journey, and the Bible says always be learning, right? Speak to
Hmm.
that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's you know what? I mean, the thing I thought about is so I have a similar journey, except I was, yeah, I've been in and out of a lot of churches, mostly as a musician. So I would say that every church I've been, so I've been like in and out of Adventist churches, Baptist churches, Pentecostal churches, like I said, mostly as a musician. And yeah, it's I try to talk to pastors and I try to study, you know, read up on what people believe when I'm working with them for sure. So yeah, I've seen that. That makes you wonder about like your radio show and even the music you listen to. Have you seen situations where like some Christian artists may want to push like some of their denominational beliefs or whatever into music?
Oh snap! We right out the gate.
I know
Oh
exactly.
yeah.
I was thinking about this. I'm like, oh
Hey,
man, we just went right
I love it, man. Good.
out.
So I don't know if you guys are familiar with Angel Machine at all.
I'm not sure.
Actually, so I heard them. I was listening to the radio station, your radio station. That's where I heard them. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, we did a podcast with them. They are a couple out of Indiana on
Mhm.
80 Windblown Media Records, and they didn't come out and say it specifically to us,
Mhm.
but I found later on that they were more fundamental Baptists,
Okay.
and they can be pretty pushy online about their faith, which
Yeah.
whatever.
Mhm.
I still love them. They're still great people,
Sure.
but the ones that I try to stay away from
Mhm.
and are the ones that are kind of wishy-washy. I'm not naming names because because I'm sure they're part of this part of the group and
Oh,
I
absolutely.
want
We have them all. Like,
to yeah
Yeah, that could
I
go a
know
lot of different ways.
yeah but they are very pushy and I love them because they're believers, but I can't be around. I can't deal with them because they tend to 1 minute criticize us, as a radio station because we're not pushing their music, but at the same time, their music is almost a decade old and they haven't released anything new.
Ouch.
So
So,
and,
so here's the real question from somebody who runs a radio station: is Blue Fire Horizon a real metal band?
ooh, that's a
you
great
would ask, oh my gosh,
How
they
many times
are.
have they come up in our interviews?
every time, Doc. Every time.
I
And in
love.
the group, like
Yep.
we had like 1 month, like where everything was like Blue Fire Horizon
Everything.
jokes.
I remember. Yep. They are fantastic guys.
For sure.
We're trying to get them actually on our podcast. So, guys, if you're watching this, come join the Rock for Him podcast. We'd love to have you.
Hey, yeah, y'all have
Oh,
already done the CMG podcast. Now you got to get Rock for Him.
I know, and they've done a few of them. What's funny is they've come up like in quite a few. They just like a couple of them have shown up in podcasts that they weren't even necessarily part of. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
they
yeah,
actually they interviewed us for their podcast.
yeah, and
Oh,
they
yeah,
interviewed
Yep.
us.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That's awesome, man. Dude,
Yes.
so Rock for Life has been around. Rock for Life. Oh my gosh, that shows you my age there. We were talking about that earlier. So Rock for Him radio station, you said, has been around almost 3 years, just under 3 years.
Yeah, just under 3 years, about 2.5 years, I think.
Okay. So if we got a lot of people in here, they're like, hey, I'm looking for a place to go listen to some Christian rock and metal, whatever. What are they gonna find when they get there?
Well,
What's your variety that you offer?
we offer so the station we're actually on is also Christian, 24 hours. It's
Mhm.
called
nice.
On the Verge.
Okay.
And they'll play more of the older school stuff like
Mhm.
Petra, White Cross. I don't know. They've got a ton, but with Rock for Him, you can expect a little bit of everything. We love, so like anything on the 80 Windblown Media Records. So Relesser, Angel Machine, those bands.
Mhm.
then we also have some punk, so like Jericho Harlot, Dispraised. We've done death metal from like Voluntary Mortification, Mangled Carpenter.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
What about
the
Crown of Sorrows?
we have not got those yet, but I think that's coming
We
up.
can work on that.
Right, for sure.
we
for sure.
also tried to hook up our local musicians. So I don't know
Oh,
if you
that's
guys are
good.
familiar with Matt Moore.
Yeah,
Yep, he's
vaguely,
from-
like he's newer, right? Or new to me.
he's been around for a while.
Okay.
We try to play a lot of our local stuff. So Voluntary Mortification, Collapse Revive, Dusty Bones, Winter King, Matt Moore. We've got a ton of great talent here that we just
Nice.
try to share with the world, but yeah, we tend to stay away from CCM, so not a whole lot of Skillet, although we're all big Skillet fans, but
Right.
they're I mean, who doesn't like
Somewhat.
Skillet?
Skill is interesting. We talk Skill is like we have a joke, definitely a running joke, because Skillet, Demon Hunter, Theocracy, and
And
probably
Striper.
missing like one more. And Striper, thank you. Those are probably the favorite group, the fan favorites in the Christian metal group for sure.
Yeah, I've seen. Yeah, yeah, we try to stick more to the underground scene, like
I love it.
That's cool.
the unsigned or possibly signed that really aren't getting a whole lot of love, like Rusty Ship, Jericho Harlot, Decaying Martyr. I don't know if you guys have heard of them.
Yeah.
Dispraised.
Mhm.
All the darker techno stuff.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can hear a variety. Just nothing CCM.
Good.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. Yo, so I know that as far as the staff are concerned, you said it's like 3 of you. Is that what you said? It's 3 of you?
It's 3 of us, and then we have a pastor who's kind of behind the scenes.
Okay,
Who
cool.
does,
That's awesome too.
Yeah.
So what are your preferred styles between the 3 of y'all? Like, you all have a favorite subgenre of metal yourselves?
I like the more heavier end, so like Demon Hunter and maybe a little bit heavier. Jason, I know, is around the same as me, and Scott just pretty much likes anything. So, yeah,
that's definitely.
And Herb, our pod pastor, he doesn't like this music at all. He just joined because the guys knew him from another podcast that they did, and just needed. We said we wanted a pastor, and his name come up, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't want to be on the radio or anything, but I'll stay behind the scenes and pray." And yeah, we sent him some stuff to listen to, and he's like, "Not my style." He stays more in the CCM world.
Yeah, start them off with Voluntary Mortification. Start them off there.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
This is lounge music to us, right?
Right.
So, I know you mentioned it briefly earlier. Give us a little bit more detailed description of what each 3 of you do.
Okay, so Scott was our booker, handle all the scheduling stuff. Since his move, he's kind of stepped back from that because it got too stressful. So I've taken over for that. He just handles the Monday, Wednesday, and Friday shows. And Jason, like I said, handles our tech stuff. So our podcast, he edits and posts. And then it's gotten a little overwhelming because of the amount of social media we're on. So my wife has actually stepped in to handle our social media and our emails. So she's kind of become our office manager, so to speak.
Your VA.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Our unpaid OA.
You got tell her treasures in heaven.
Right. That's
wow.
That's what I tell her. I tell her her paycheck is being married to me.
Oh my God.
No. So yeah, we all just kind of pitch in where we can. Like, so Scott's now starting the concert portion. He's the one who has contacted bands in the past to come in. Like, I think he's the one who contacted Reclaim the Day.
Mhm.
And then actually this month we have 2 shows coming up. Ignescent, I don't know if you guys are familiar with them.
Yeah, they're actually supposed to be playing here in my area.
Wow.
I was wanting to go see them because I don't really know much about them. I've listened to them online a few times, but
We've had lead singer Jennifer on our
Oh,
podcast.
nice.
Okay.
She's fantastic.
Good.
We're getting them in here May 20th,
Okay.
and then the week before, so May 13th, we've got End of Eye, who's another local band that we're fantastic friends with, and Beth Hall. I don't know if you're familiar with Fuel for Soul.
I've heard the name. I'm not sure if I know them.
So check out Fuel for Soul.
Okay.
They got one song out called Keep the Faith. It's a great song. Anyways, 2 of the members have gone off to start their own careers. So there's Gary Caserta and Beth Hall. And Beth Hall's coming up with her husband to do an acoustic show on May 13th.
So what city are you in?
Flint, Michigan.
Yeah, Flint.
So if y'all are in Flint, Michigan, go to rockforhim.com. Is it .com?
Yep, rockforhim.com. We've got all the information there.
Look up your upcoming concerts. Y'all definitely support them. That'd be awesome. They're really creating a scene there where there's not one. So
there hasn't been one for years. So
yeah, awesome.
All right, so I got a 2-part question.
Okay.
So I'm number one, as far as music that you play on the station, what is your criteria? I know you talked about the underground scene, but do you have any other criteria for music being played? And then also, if you're, say, an up and coming band that wants to send music to the station to be played, what all should people send? Like, should it be an electronic press kit? Should it be a CD? Should it be like,
pretty much
Like a
we will accept anything. One of the criteria we look for the most is we got to hear some kind of faith in the lyrics, because our tagline is "We are music with a message." Tagline for our ministry. So we don't want to put anything out that is contrary to what the Bible says.
Right.
No blasphemous nonsense, whatever. And then as far as people sending us stuff, you can send EPK, you can send MP3s, whatever, to our email, which is fourhim at yahoo.com. And usually the 3 of us will sit down over a Zoom and discuss what songs we like and what we don't, what we're going to add and what we're not, or we constantly chat about what's coming up and what we're going to play and what we're not, so that we're on the same page. And cool. I mean, we review everything. If it's too light, we'll put it on our Sunday show.
So y'all literally review every song, the lyrics and the music.
We do.
That's pretty impressive. Yeah.
This is like a full-time job without getting paid for it.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So along those same lines, will you play a Megadeth or a Wasp that has faith-based lyrics or something along those lines? Or do y'all
possibly? Okay. If we don't, I know On the Verge probably would.
Mm-hmm.
I think we do have some Wasp on there.
Do y'all collectively like vote on it, or how does that work?
Usually it's 2/3 of the vote because there's 3 of us. So, someone's always the loser.
Yeah. That's awesome.
That's funny. I love it.
So Jay's a recording musician. I mean, even though Jay's big time is Music's Underground, so he can send you some information.
Absolutely, man.
Awesome. He's got what, you got something dropping soon, or did it already come
Yeah,
out?
yeah, I have some stuff dropping soon for sure.
Yeah.
It's I have a few things dropping soon. It's crazy. We just started recording vocals, man.
You're gonna have to blast it out to all these radio
Yeah,
stations and
yeah, I
Yeah.
know it.
rock for
It's
him.
unbelievable. It's so funny because I was telling the guys in Christian metal recently that um I've always promoted other people. I've always been like the guy that, promotes other people. Self promotion for me is so weird. So like even on my page, I barely post like pictures or videos of anything. Like I do like all kind of stuff. Like even events, I don't even post events that I do hardly. And it's gonna be, and I'm doing like events like literally every week. Like,
Yeah.
but I don't know. It's just never been my thing. Like everything has been word of mouth, even with me like doing music. It's just always been word of mouth, and I've always like a lot of times being a session musician and playing for different concerts and stuff. But yeah, so it like I said, it's really weird. It's new to do that. I'm kind of shy about it, honestly, which is so funny to even think about. But I'll get the hang of it.
Send it to Rock for Him and let them promote it for you then.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. There
you
we
can do
go.
that. Yeah, absolutely, man.
I think yeah. I think talking to like various Christian organizations and that I've been a part of, and we've talked about like self promotion, because a lot of times, and this may tie into some of the stuff that we're talking about anyway, but a lot of times self promotion tends to become self centered, and sometimes self promotion kind of takes God out of it. Sometimes it's like you're just so worried about yourself and making sure you get out there. And like and in a lot of ways, as an artist myself, I do get it, because you want to make money.
There's a fine line there. You got to figure out, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that is a very good point.
Yeah, you got to make money. So that's how I have to figure out. I have to figure out like how to, So yeah, so this is like the kind of stuff we're talking about. Like I'm taking notes, and I hope other people take notes too, as to how to approach like getting music to various podcasts and various radio stations. And then you put Christian on top of it too. And like say if you're doing like metal, then you put Christian to it. That's like an underground within an underground.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So I think the stations like yours, and especially like in an area like Flint, Michigan,
Yeah.
like wow, where there isn't a big scene.
Right.
The thing is, it all has to start somewhere.
So I know you're based out of Michigan, but you have listeners all over. I mean, I guess you can track that, right?
Yeah. I want to say we have listeners overseas.
Nice.
The radio station that we're a part of, On the Verge, we are we're available over in Europe and I think in Australia. We're adding more countries by the day. I don't know who all listens.
That's really cool, man.
It's one of those things that I just want God's word spread.
Sure.
I don't care who listens from where. We've been contacted by people in Africa saying that they love our stuff. So
that's awesome, man. Yeah, I was listening to it. I was doing some work earlier this week, and one thing, I mean, being in the Christian metal group, I'm always saying, I'm like, oh, there's a new band I hadn't heard. But that's one thing I noticed with yours, like Rusty Ship. That's kind of a newer one for me. I heard them on a podcast and I went and checked them out. But you had even other bands that I'd never heard on there, and I'm like, man, okay, it's hard to keep up. And when
it is.
If somebody said Christian rock's dead, they hadn't been on your radio station, right?
Right.
So you got the radio station, you got the metal scene and the rock scene going in yours. So give us a little more detail about the podcast. What does that look like, and what's your topics?
Basically, our podcast is a weekly thing. We sit down over Zoom with just about anybody in the industry.
Okay.
We just talked to the founders of Kingdom Come Festival. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then Cindy Blankenship. I don't know if you know who she is.
I listen to her podcast. I mean, I've never met her, but yeah, she's apparently very well known.
She's big in our scene.
Matter of fact, that's the podcast that I heard about Rusty Ship on. So
Okay.
Yep.
We'll go back. We've had Rusty and AJ on our podcast, so go back and listen to that.
nice. Okay.
Cool.
Also, Jason and I have started doing music reviews. We were dropping them.
Nice.
We were dropping them every week, twice a week, but it became too much. Again, we don't get paid for this ministry. This is all time we spend away from our families and whatnot.
Sure.
Which, thank God, our wives are completely on board and understanding.
Yeah, for sure.
But we've talked to just about anybody and everybody.
It was basically interviewing musicians about who they are and what they do.
Yep, we try to get to the heart behind the artist and find out. One of the questions we ask is how you became a Christian. And where have you been? Where do you want to go? Where would you like to play? One of my favorite questions to ask our guests is if there's one band who pulled up to your house and said, pack everything, you're coming on tour with us, drop everything, you're coming on tour with us, who would it be and why? And sit back and listen to their, who they say. A lot of people have said Skillet. A lot of people have said Disciple. That's another one that I've heard people.
That's a great question. We might have to steal that one, Jay.
That's wild. Yeah, I'm with it. I'm all right with it.
Yeah.
And another one that I haven't been able to ask because sometimes our guests talk a lot more than. But one of my favorites that I ask is, on the road, how do you stay connected with God?
That's good. Love it.
Because it's one thing to be part of the world, but as Christians, we're called to be in and not of it. So if you're not connected to your home church, how are you staying connected to God?
Yeah. Well, thank God for people like Pastor Bob Beeman,
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. And then, of course, y'all have a pastor too, so y'all real good.
That's right. That's right.
Pastor of the radio station. I love that. That's different. That's really different.
We set out to do everything to honor God.
Cool.
And every step of the way, we constantly check with ourselves. Is this honoring God? Is this, what can we do to grow the ministry to honor God?
Mm-hmm. So the podcast is Rock for Him podcast.
Yep.
As well.
It just falls under Rock for Him. We have links to everything on our website. We even have a merch store.
Oh, nice. Oh yeah, we're partnered with Christian Band Shirts as well. I saw that.
That's what I thought.
So y'all drop it on all the major platforms of Spotify and Apple and so on. Okay, awesome.
Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Audible,
nice.
Google, anywhere you can find a podcast, we are there.
Perfect.
All right, so here's a question. So while you were talking about just all these different things, it made me think, as far as the way you all do the radio station, do you all have sections that highlight individual subgenres at any time? Like, have you all done a death metal show or
I did not too long ago. I did a Made in Michigan show.
Mm-hmm.
So I highlight all the bands from Michigan, like One True King, Matt Moore, Collapse Revive, Voluntary Mortification. I can't remember who all, anything to fill up an hour. And then I think it was last year, my daughter came to me and was like, Dad, can I do a show with all the women? And I'm like,
oh, wow.
Absolutely. So she got to program a whole hour. So she had Lacey Sturm.
Oh,
and, wow. Theody and
EFM.
I can't remember who all she did, but it was all her. She
Nessa. There's a lot of them out there, actually.
Yeah,
there is. So,
yeah, that reminds me. I was just listening to Bloodline Calligraphy earlier this week.
Oh, cool.
Man, that woman could tear it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, man, I really love how just like Christian Metal Group, Rock for Him is a ministry. You got your pastor. We got Pastor Bob. We got James
Mhm.
Franchise as our worship leader. And all that.
Yep.
That's awesome. I love that. Hey, you're not just another radio station. There's a purpose behind what you're doing.
Right.
Right. Yep. And we, like I said, we set out to honor God in all that we do. If we're not talking about God in some way, what are we doing? The whole thing was to spread the word about Christian metal to our. It started out wanting to reach Flint because there's nothing here on my side of the state.
Mm.
But then we just let God. We sit back and let God grow it. I try to promote it, and I know the other guys do as much as possible on Facebook, but we're not trying to be, like you said, Jay. It's more of a walking the fine line. Like, how much do we really want to? It's not about us; it's about God. And sometimes reaching out to bands when you say, "Hey, we'd love to have you on the podcast" or whatever. The more smaller bands are like, well, way open to it. But we ran into an issue last year with a super popular band. Well, they have quite a following, and they're pretty controversial. I won't name names.
Yeah,
but
no worries.
But they blew us off more than once because we're not huge, but they wouldn't say that. So
you got me all curious now, man.
I've seen this scenario so many times.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say this: they're part of Rockfest Records.
Yeah,
they're the big band on that label.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah.
Known for their controversy.
Man.
All right.
I'm sure you can figure it out.
Yeah. No worries. Yeah, it's all good.
No, we've asked them on a couple of occasions, and we got told things like, well, we're just coming off tour and the guys need a break, or we had one time where they came to us and was like, it was 5 minutes before the podcast was supposed to start. Oh, well, they're in the studio with the producer right now, and we don't know when they're going to get out.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you couldn't have said something like, hours ago, so we could have rescheduled.
Right. Yeah, that's what we interviewed Joel with the Imaginary podcast, and that was one of his biggest things. He's like, man, people are not accountable, and you spend all this time prepping and getting it ready, and then they're like, oh, I got to cancel again, and I can see how that would be frustrating.
Yeah,
there's been another one too, and there's a punk band that did that to us, Christian punk band, and so those two bands have moved out of our list.
Nice.
If they come around again, I'll try, but I'm not holding my breath.
I think people really don't get the big picture with that perspective, because your radio station is going to reach people that the ones that their own might not.
Right? Exactly.
And
exactly.
Podcasts. Yeah.
Exactly. And I just don't think they understand. The other thing I don't think they understand is the time that, I'm sure they assume that we get paid for this. Well, I'm here to tell you, we haven't drawn a dime. Anything we have done in this ministry has cost money.
Yeah. Same here. We totally get it.
Yeah, absolutely.
From like promotional materials and whatnot. Like when we do concerts now, we have a professional setup. With a table with merchandise and how can we pray for you and that kind of stuff. So, and anybody who comes on our podcast, in the past we have sent a T-shirt as a way to say thank you, but that's expensive. Like that comes out of one of our three pockets, or all three of us. Booking concerts, that's come out of our pockets. We have to be selective because, I have a family of my own that I have to support, and I'm the only one working, and I can't afford $5,000 to bring a band in.
Right, exactly.
I get it.
So
one of the bands we interviewed in the past was Testimony Apocalypse. Do y'all play them?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, we do.
Good deal, man.
We'd love to have them on the podcast. I'll probably be reaching out here soon.
You hear this, Paul? We're waiting on you.
Right, exactly.
We're currently booked up to the second week of June, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
I tended to once I got the reins to book, I started hitting the ground running, like, who can I get? And just reached out to people that I knew that wanted to do the podcast, and they were like, yeah, let's do it.
Nice. Awesome.
I love it.
So it's fun because it's fun to get to know these artists, because then it makes me fall even more in love with their music.
Absolutely. Or the way some of them act, maybe not so much, but
right.
Right.
Yeah. So here's another personal question, or semi-personal, whatever. Two-part. Once again, I got all these two-part questions today. But, what is your favorite thing about being a Christian? What is your favorite thing about being a metalhead?
Well, my favorite thing about being a metalhead is the community, especially in the Christian side of things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there is such widespread connection, especially with the Christian music group. Just learning what everybody's into, that opens up my eyes to new bands. One of the things about being a Christian, I think, that I love is just the fact that, I don't know, like, I know where I'm going if I die.
Yeah.
My walk with Christ is secure, that if I were to die today, I'm going to heaven. My sins are forgiven. That doesn't make me better than anybody, but that also gives me kind of an avenue to talk to people, especially if I'm out and about and they see me with my Rock for Him shirt on. I get to talk about being a Christian and about the ministry, and
nice.
talking about Christian metal. So
that's great, man. What are some of your newer favorite bands that you're into?
Well, like you, I didn't hear about Rusty Ship until like last year. Probably right when they were releasing their song Bottom of the Barrel.
Yeah.
Or no, I take that back. I heard about Rusty Ship through their cover of Show Me How to Live by Audioslave. So that made me a fan. And then Reclaim the Day is another one that I'm a huge fan of. And we're really good friends with Reclaim the Day. Jason's daughter actually was taking vocal lessons from Rebecca Sugg, the lead singer.
Oh, wow.
Zana is another one that I've really kind of gone off the deep end for.
She just released a new album.
She did. We actually reviewed it, and we're trying to get her and her husband Nesdom on the podcast. They are way too busy.
Yeah,
we understand. Dyer. I don't know if you've heard of them.
I think I've seen the name. I don't know that I'm familiar with them.
Mm-hmm. They are almost like, they're maybe a little bit heavier than Metallica, I want to say.
There's something heavier than Metallica?
Yeah, right?
Hilarious. Hilarious.
My tastes have gotten even wider since I started this ministry. Like, I was not a huge punk fan, but I've fallen in love with Grave Robber and
love Grave Robber,
Jericho Harlot, and Dispraised.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know Dispraised. That's punk.
Yep.
Okay.
And actually, Tom, the lead singer for Dispraised, is the one who's behind Decaying Martyr.
Okay. Nice.
Yep. Decaying Martyr is more of a death metal band. So
cool. I'll check them out.
I was just
Yeah.
watching a DVD for a White Collar Sideshow. Have you heard them?
Yes,
Dude,
I was trying to get
so
them on the
good.
podcast, but now they broke up.
I did not know that.
Yep.
Huh.
Late last year, they decided they were going to hang up their hats and not tour anymore.
Man,
Oh,
they were
They
man.
so
were
good.
they were in pre-production for their fourth album, and
Yeah.
they just felt like it was time to stop.
Hmm.
But I think too, they were getting ready to head on tour, and TD, the drummer and singer,
Yeah.
got sick, so they had to postpone their tour, and then he got sick again, so they had to postpone another tour.
Man.
And
Yeah, I didn't know all that.
yeah,
All right. What else you got, Jay?
You know what? I think that may be it, actually. I think all the hard we hit all the hard questions.
So tell us where can people find the ministry, and how can the Christian metal community help the ministry and support the ministry?
so you can find us on trying to think. We are everywhere on social media. You can go to our website, www.rockforhim.com, the number 4. We are, as far as helping us, maybe spread the word, tune in. We're always trying to get, trying to hook up new listeners. If you've got song suggestions, send it our way. We'll help out as much as we can. Try to spread the word about these new bands coming up and whatever. And yeah, we're going to continue to spread the word about the Christian music group and trying to help that group grow. And
That's
yeah,
awesome.
it's all about connecting the body of Christ together.
Yeah. So if you're watching this and you got a friend who's not a Christian and they love rock or heavy metal, send them to rockforhim.com.
That's
And
right.
you never know how God's going to use that. They get on there and they start listening, and they might not even know it's a Christian radio station.
Mm-hmm.
But they hear a song, they're like, man, that's amazing. They get online, they read the lyrics. You never know how God can use something like that.
That's right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Christian metal evangelism is elite. That's just all it is to it. I love it.
I agree. That's right, brother. Awesome, man. Well, Jeremy, it's been great. Appreciate this, and we're gonna, do all we can to promote your ministry and
Absolutely,
and do the same for us. And
yeah,
anything you ever need, just reach out and ask, man.
the same for you guys, man.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, y'all have a great day.
Y'all too.
All right.